A question I get emailed to me all the time by magicians here at Penguin and all over the place is they say, I've bought some tricks, I've been practicing for a year or two, I love it. What do I do next? Like I hear about people doing shows. How do I get to do shows? How do I land a restaurant? How do I start doing shows for people? I'm not an expert. I mean, I can tell you my own experience, having done this for about 15 years and for about 5 years full-time professional. But since the age of 14, when I landed my first restaurant, I can tell you what has worked for me and what has not. In terms of restaurants, I've been doing restaurants almost nonstop for the last 13 years. There's been very few periods in my life where I wasn't working in a restaurant at least once a week. So restaurants for me have been a bread and butter source for networking, marketing, giving out business cards, and getting business, getting private shows. When I was younger, getting lots of kids shows. How do you get a job at a restaurant? Now, people are going to tell you all different things. I can only tell you what's worked for me. So if you have other things that differ, by all means, go ahead. This is just what's worked for me. I find that calling places, that's a dead end. You just can't get people on the phone. They think magic. They don't know who you are. The power of magic is experiencing it for yourself. When you see a good performer up close and personal, that's the moment where you're like, wow, this is so cool. That enthusiasm, that momentum is what you want to drive and turn from just being amazement into sales, into converting on the excitement of a manager at that moment to wanting to book you at his restaurant, his or her restaurant, and you starting to work there. How do you do that? Here's my best tips. One, chain restaurants are a difficult path. Unless they've already had magicians there for a while and it's kind of an established thing, a chain is very difficult because there's corporate hierarchy. They can always defer you to a regional manager, to a higher up, and that's a very easy way to blow you off. They don't have to make the decision. I find that family-owned restaurants, something where the owner or the decision maker is either on premise, they own one restaurant or a few restaurants, or they're easily accessible. So if you're doing it for someone's son and their father owns it, that's going to be a very good resource because if he tells his dad, hey, look, this guy's great and vouches for you, you're in. I would recommend scoping out restaurants in your neighborhood. See who eats there. That's very important. Your target audience. If you're going to a place that's very, inexpensive and very cheap, odds are the people there might not have a lot of disposable income to then book you for a show. So you want to find out where you're working first. So you look at places that are at, the income level and where you want to be in terms of can they afford you. Next up, you want to go there on an off hour, usually between lunch and dinner where they're not so busy. Maybe between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Go with somebody else if you can. Better to go as a pair or a group. And just have a light lunch or just have a drink. Sit down, have some water, have an appetizer, and start doing magic for the person there with you. More than likely, the waiter or waitress, if they're not busy, will stop and look and see what you're doing. They'll say, oh, what's with the cards? Or you can kind of rope them and say, check this out. This is so cool. They'll see the other person laughing, enjoying themselves. You're a patron of the restaurant. You're obviously going to be tipping them later, so they are going to stop and want to see what you're doing. Do something amazing. Do one thing, maybe two things max. Then broaden the group. See if they can bring over another couple of waiters or waitresses. Normally, you won't even have to do that. They will go and get them. They're like, oh my God, that was so cool. I need to bring more people. Do one more trick. Don't do your whole act. You want to be doing your most amazing stuff for the decision maker. That could be the owner, that could be the manager, or that could be one of the other, assistant managers. Get somebody who makes decisions or who is in charge over. Say, you know what, do me a favor, grab the manager too if you got a minute. That's the reason for going in between shifts when they're not so busy. You're not going to be with somebody who's very rushed and needs to go. They're going to have a moment or two to spare. You do your best, most powerful routine. One, maybe two, hit them hard, and then you're going into somewhat more of a business mode. Say, this is a great spot. Have you guys ever had any entertainment here? That's going to hopefully get their juices flowing, and they say, well, yes, or they're going to say no. You want to be doing questions that you can work off of. So if they say no with entertainment, you want to start offering them benefits. Say to them, I do this at other places. Even if you haven't done it at any place, fake it till you make it, so to speak. Say, I do this at other places. I'm not condoning lying here. It's just a white lie, just giving them a representation of what you can offer them. And say, I would do this for your people that are waiting to get seats. I could do this for some of the people at the bar. I can do this for people waiting for their food. I know you want to turn tables. I want to make this a great experience for your diners. They're going to have a great time here. They're going to literally leave and tell all their friends about how much fun they had at XYZ restaurant and how they want to bring new friends back and come back and see me and eat here again. This is what they're going to be hearing, dollars and cents. You're going to be bringing them more customers. You're going to be having their customers leave happier. Give them these benefits. Don't focus on how good you are. Your magic spoke for itself. They know you're good. You've already sold yourself. Now you're selling them on what you offer them as a business. The key at this point, once you've said this, is either you're going to have somebody very enthusiastic and into it. You might have somebody who's kind of like deliberating and thinking about it. You're rarely going to have somebody who's negative. It's not a cold call like in sales. You're not calling somebody on the phone like a telemarketer and they're hanging up. They like you. You just did magic. You're the coolest person they've met today, maybe in the last month. They're excited about your idea. The problem is they're a little nervous because making a decision, what if it doesn't go well? They're going to look bad or their restaurant's not going to do well because of it. You need to give them a risk-free approach. At this point, once you've sold them on the benefits, I immediately interject and make it a win-win proposition. I say, how about this? How about next Tuesday I come in an hour or two and I just do this for your customers, just like tonight. No money. I'm not charging you a penny. I just want you to see how everyone that leaves is not only going to love it, but tell you that they're coming back with another group of friends. And they're probably going to say, oh, well, I go, listen, you have nothing to lose. If it doesn't work, listen, man, no hard feelings, seriously. But why don't we try it? Next Tuesday, I'm going to come in for like 2 hours, no money. You don't have to pay me a dime, and let's see how it works. It's very difficult for somebody at this point to not agree to it, or at least say that they're going to check into it. You want to try to not leave the place until they give you a commitment. I would say that at that moment, if you can lock it up, you're a shoo-in. Because that night, if you're good at what you do, now everything here is based on the fact that you are a good performer. You've got to be confident in yourself. You've got to have some good routines as well. So you've got to do your homework before you walk in there. That goes without saying. But you're confident, you're good, you've got some good routines, you sell them right there on the spot. If you walk out that door without having established a date, your odds drop 50-50 because now you've lost that excitement. Next time you call them, they might be busy. It might be a few days later. They might have come up with reasons now why this doesn't work for their restaurant. So you really want to try. Now, once again, sometimes that person can't make the decision on their own, but you've planted the seed. You now have a friend, an ally, when you come back, they can vouch for you. You don't have to do the whole build up again. You don't have to come and have lunch again. Simply call, try to get them on the phone, and if they're not the one that decides, find out who is the one that decides and come in at an off hour when that person's there, hopefully when they're both there, so they can introduce you, and then, like I said, sell them. I think one night doing 2 hours of your time, if it's going to land you a steady gig from now on that's going to be paying, is well worth the expense. If you're so busy that you can't afford to do the one free night, you can offer them another night at a cost. But like I said, I think it's a small investment for your future, especially if that restaurant turns into a once a week gig, twice a week, maybe once a month. You're going to get lots of business from it. You've got to think long term with these things. Restaurants are great not only for the pay you get and the tips you get, but also the business cards you hand out. Those guests are going to see you, and if you market yourself well, they're going to know that, oh, my kid's birthday party's coming up. You'd be great for it. Oh, my company's having a golf outing or a Christmas party. You'd be fantastic for it. That's the reason I liked restaurants. That's the reason I do them to this day. Every week, I still have several restaurants I work at, anywhere from 1 to 4 nights a week. And I land a lot of good business from those restaurants. So that's pretty much the answer. Now it's in one spot instead of sending out emails all the time to different people, pointing them in the right direction. That's how I've done it. That's without any exception. The only other way to do it that I found works very well is I do a party at a restaurant. Now this, you can't really, if you're starting from the ground up, you're probably not going to have any private parties. But if I do a party at a restaurant, anytime there's a lull, a private party, a corporate event at a restaurant, I try to do a trick or two for some of the waiters. I get them on my side. I get them to start enjoying it. If I meet the maitre d' or the manager or the owner, I'll do something for him on the offbeat. Keep in mind, you don't want to sacrifice, you don't want your client getting angry that you're entertaining, the staff when they're paying you to entertain their guests. So be very aware of that. Do it during speeches, in between, when the courses are being served. Do it in a moment where it's not going to, interfere with your other performance. Then get the owner's business card, pay attention to your guests and your clients, and come back a different time. They know you. Now, you don't have to do the whole coming in between lunch. They already know you. They've seen you do it. Now you pitch. Now you come in and say, you saw what I did at that party. You saw how your guests loved me at that private party. Why don't I do that for people here? You're dining, the people that work, that eat here at your restaurant on a regular basis. Throw them, pitch them the benefits, and once again, you've already got your foot in the door. It's all about getting your foot in the door in this world. It's just networking, meeting people, having them like you, having them see that the product you're offering, in this case, the entertainment, is worth it to them. Not only because they know you're good at what you do, but because what you do will bring them more business in the form of happier clients, in the form of people returning to see you, and thereby purchasing more food, purchasing more drinks, coming back. Hope this helps.